Hello, this is Adam with DreamMade Productions. This video is made possible by the very kind donations of viewers like you. Thank you. If you are in a position to help this channel improve quality and grow, please visit my Patreon page at www.patreon.com/DreamMadeProductions, linked below.
Before we get started today, I wanted to give a shout out. James Ripley was one of my first, if not my first, subscriber and first PayPal contributor. He has recently started a BattleTech group at his local game store, which has been welcoming to BattleTech players. So shout out to James, his group, as well as the store his group plays in. If you ever make it to Northeast Massachusetts, drop by Queen's Gambit, located in the Village Mall, 436 Broadway, Methuen, Massachusetts, or at queensgambitgames.com. It looks like a nice place. Drop by, join a group, play some games, support BattleTech, D&D, Star Wars, Magic, or whatever your addiction. And let them know you heard about them from James Ripley's BattleTech group and DreamMade Productions. Now, on with the show.
It is the 31st century, and mankind is once again at war. The battlefields of the future are dominated by huge robotic war machines known as battlemechs.
In 2767, a vengeful SLDF smashed into the Rimworld's Republic. After seizing the Terran hegemony, Stefan Amaris' focus was largely on his new holdings. General Kerensky knew his lost and demoralized forces needed early victories. In Operation Mailed Fist, he unleashed the SLDF on the Rimworld's Republic, winning much-needed victories to boost their resolve while gaining valuable combat experience for the struggle to come. Targeted early in the campaign was the recently colonized world of Armstrong. While defended, the world had no prayer against the SLDF forces sent to pacify it. By the time the last Star League dropships lifted, what little industry, infrastructure, and technology Armstrong controlled was less than ruins. When it became clear that the Rimworld's Republic holdings were up for grabs, the Lyrans moved in, seizing and conquering what they could. When Steiner's scouts reached Armstrong, what they found was a burnt world, stripped of resources, and what few survivors remained had devolved into a state, well, best not to go into details. The world was deemed worthless, and in the Armageddon of the First Secession War, the world had been forgotten. On Armstrong itself, humanity had regressed to an almost medieval technology level. In the burned out and now rusted remains of crashed dropships, mud huts housed poor farmers trying to raise their work dogs and grow enough food in poor soil not to starve. By 2865, very few outside of Comstar knew of the world. Even within Comstar, the world was a rarely mentioned historical footnote at best. On all but the most detailed of maps, the location of Armstrong was forgotten. Meanwhile, the people of Armstrong had managed to recover and progress, reaching a basic level of industrialization united under a single leader. Exactly when remains unclear, but during Armstrong's darkest period, one tribe discovered and somehow powered up a pair of battlemechs. To say these titans of the past gave the family an advantage over the spear and bow-wielding rivals would be an understatement. While the mechs and knowledge gleaned from them would catapult Armstrong's new rulers, the Cuthwins, into a more modern level, they were still steeped in the culture of cruelty and savagery born out of a century of desperate survival. Armstrong had been a harsh and merciless world, and the Cuthwins, and indeed most of its inhabitants, were forced to become just as harsh and merciless. The Cuthwins would build up the world's industrial level, reaching that of the 20th century Earth, much of which was devoted to keeping the Cuthwins' battle mechs up and running. Despite its unknown location, at least one jump ship had made it to a location near enough for delivery of a new Vindicator battle mech, paid for in bars of gold. The exchange would not go unnoticed. In 2879, a group of mercenaries, the Manstron's Marauders, arrived on Armstrong at the invitation of Alexander Cuthwin, Armstrong's archlord. Alexander had long suspected his appointed heir and nephew, Valin Cuthwin, of attempting to overthrow him, a paranoia well-founded. When the mercenary lance arrived, Valin fled the palace, taking with him the 3 working battle mechs in Cuthwin's arsenal. In return for eliminating his nephew and continued protection, the mercenaries were to be paid a handsome sum, in addition to being granted noble titles and estates on Armstrong. Major Craftsman was nearing retirement age, and the prospect of being waited on hand and foot by a collection of beautiful servant girls had its appeal. At first, the mercenaries thought the hunt would be a simple one. After all, to them, Valin Cuthwin was a barbarian, using equipment he did not understand. They quickly found the prince difficult to corner. Further, the issue becoming more personal as Valin often killed those that had aided Craftsman, always leaving the message, "You should not have come behind," to taunt the outsider. A change of plan was called for. The Manstron's Marauders concentrated on building a military base on Armstrong, securing their new estates and supporters. The plan worked. Valin was no longer able to attack the Lance's infrastructure, now protected by high walls and reinforced guard towers. Only a fluke of Armstrong's unpredictable weather managed to save the prince. Clearly, his options were dwindling. On 28 September 2879 was a spring day on Armstrong. Craftsman had arranged for an inspection of the infantry squads trained up to protect the base while his lance surged. He was in the cockpit of his Orion, still connected to his lance's cooling truck, when alarms began to blare. The 3 Cuthwin mechs were quickly approaching, issuing challenges to finish this once and for all. The Major called for his lance mates, already boarding their mechs, to rush their power-up process. He struggled to communicate effectively due to the white noise jamming attempts of the approaching Cuthwins. Valin had set his Vindicator's transmitters to broadcast nerve-grating screeching noises along with a loop of the prince's taunting phrase. Still, Major Craftsman and his men were well-trained professionals and knew their jobs well enough not to let their opponents' juvenile tactics interfere with the battle that was about to begin. Turn 1. The gathered infantry platoons part, allowing the Scorpion tank to roll forward. The coolant truck rushes to detach their hoses from the Orion. The other Scorpion also makes its way forward. The Crusader mech warrior struggles to power up his mech faster. The infantry start running toward the fortified guard towers. The Wasp walks forward. Major Craftsman walks forward, getting eyes on Valin Cuthwin's Vindicator. The Panther runs to keep up with the Wasp. The Jaggermech and Firestarter also rush their startup sequence. The infantry huff towards the towers. Valin and his Vindicator stays back. Major Craftsman tries to lock on to Valin's Vindicator, knowing taking him down will secure his new luxury retirement. His LRM streak out, but fail to connect. Valin replies with his PPC and LRM-5. The PPC melts armor off the right leg, while a few missiles chip away at the Orion's center torso. Turn 2. The coolant truck makes its way south. Major Graftsman holds position, waiting for his lance to form up. A Scorpion tank continues forward. The Crusader, now fully powered up, begins to walk forward. The infantry keep running. The Scorpion tank also continues forward. The Panther holds, waiting. The Jaggermach and Firestarter also walk forward. The Wasp holds position with the Panther. Valin and his Vindicator stays back as he enters commands into his combat computer. Valin ignores the approaching lance, sending signals and entering commands. The Crusader uses tracking information from the Orion to fire both LRM racks at the Vindicator, but the missiles fly by harmlessly. Major Graftsman fires his autocannon and another volley of LRMs at Valin. This time, the LRMs track, hitting the left and center torsos, the autocannon rounds knocking armor off the right arm. Turn 3. The Scorpion holds position near the gate. Valin, his signal sent, runs south. The coolant truck keeps rolling south. The Crusader holds position. The Panther keeps waiting. The Jaggermach also stays back. Major Graftsman runs through the gate to keep Valin in his sights. The other Scorpion follows his commander. The Firestarter walks forward. Major Graftsman laughs as the Wasp holds his ground instead of jumping away. The Wasp fires his medium laser and SRM-2 at the Orion but misses. Valin Cuthwin turns his PPC and medium laser at Major Graftsman's Orion but misses. The Crusader again fires his LRMs indirectly, but the missiles slam harmlessly into the ground. The Panther targets the Orion with his SRM-4, the missiles hitting the left torso and right arm. Major Graftsman unleashes his medium lasers and AC-10 on the almost helpless Wasp. The autocannon rounds blow the left arm off the mech, the medium laser also damaging the left torso. Turn 4. The infantry keep moving forward. Major Graftsman reverses backing back into the base, calling his lance mates forward. The Wasp fires his jump jets, leaping over the base wall. The Scorpion tank holds position. Valin and his Vindicator walk south to the base wall. The Firestarter backs up. The Crusader holds his ground. The Panther jumps through the gate into the compound. The Jaggermach also does not move. The coolant truck continues to hide. The Scorpion reverses to get a clear shot at the Wasp. The infantry keep running toward their towers. The Green Infantry Squad opens fire on the Wasp, peppering the mech with fire, blowing out the left torso. The Red Infantry Squad tries the same on the Panther but misses. The Firestarter looks down and flames shoot out of his 3 flamers. Screams rise up as 2 unsuspecting infantry platoons are reduced to burnt meat, his machine guns ripping into the backs of dozens of other soldiers. The Crusader's LRMs flash out, seemingly at the Panther. Major Graftsman curses as many of the missiles hit him. The Panther fires his SRM-4 at the Orion, some of the missiles hitting the center torso. He kicks out, but misses. The Scorpion tank crew line up their autocannon 5 and fire, hitting the Wasp in the center torso. It destroys what little remains, and the ancient Wasp falls. The Jaggermach also opens fire with his autocannon, explosive rounds savaging the rear of the mercenary commander's Orion. Major Graftsman screams at the bad aim of his mech warriors, turning on the Panther, firing his medium lasers and SRM-4. a medium laser damaging the smaller mech's left arm. He kicks out, nearly destroying the light mech's right leg. Valin smiles, sending signals. A Scorpion tank fires his AC-5, hitting the Panther in the center torso. Turn 5. Valin laughs, his plan complete. Major Grassman is at first confused, then panics as the friend or foe transponders of his lancemates changes to enemy, each showing the call sign, "You should not have come." The Crusader holds his ground. The Panther jumps south, away from the Orion. The Jaggermech holds, targeting the Orion. The Scorpion tank, confused, backs off. Major Grassman, looking for a way out, backs up, unsure what to do. The coolant truck stays back. The infantry survivors drop their arms and try to flee. The Firestarter holds his ground. The other Scorpion backs south. The Scorpion tank fires his AC-5 at the Panther but misses. Major Grassman shakes his head. It must be a virus. There is no way his friends would betray him. Targets the Panther with his AC-10 and LRM-15, but is so shaken he misses. The Firestarter fires his dual medium lasers, one hitting the rear torso of the Orion. He turns, targeting the now unarmed infantry, using his flamer and machine guns to slaughter. He kicks the right leg of the Orion. The Crusader locks on, firing both SRM-6 tracks and both medium lasers at the Orion. Explosions bloom all over the rear of the heavy mech, ripping into the torsos, nearly destroying the mech's engine and damaging its gyro. The Scorpion tank continues firing on the Panther with his autocannon 5, hitting it in the center torso. The Jaggermech targets the Orion with a full alpha strike, lasers and autocannons ripping away at the crippled rear, destroying the SRM-4 launcher and blowing the mech's gyro in half. The mech falls hard on its right leg and left arm, injuring Major Grassman in the process. Turn 6. The Scorpion tank backs south. The Firestarter looks down at the Orion at his feet. The Vindicator, Panther, Jaggermech all hold their ground, targeting. The coolant truck crew, confused, debate what to do. Major Grassman signals his surrender, his heart sinking at the reply. "You should not have come." The Crusader also holds his ground. Still not sure what is going on, the Scorpion tank fires on the Panther with his autocannon, hitting it in the head. The Firestarter leans down, unleashing his medium lasers, flamers, and machine guns at the Orion, bathing it in laser fire, machine gun rounds, and sheets of fire. He kicks the still-burning Orion, knocking armor off the right arm. The other Scorpion tank crew targets the seemingly hostile Crusader, firing their AC-5, hitting the right leg. Major Grassman, knowing his only chance now is to escape, pulls the ejection lever. The Crusader fires a volley from both LRM launchers at the coolant truck, blowing chunks out of the right side. The Panther fires his PPC at the Scorpion tank but misses. The Jaggermech rakes the Scorpion tank with AC-5 and laser fire, damaging the turret and right side. Turn 7. The Scorpion keeps backing away. The other Scorpion holds his ground, unsure where to go. The coolant truck crew panic, looking for a way out. The Crusader walks south. The Panther runs forward. The Jaggermech turns around. The Firestarter runs south. The Vindicator jumps into the base. The Scorpion fires his AC-5 at the Firestarter but misses. The Firestarter fires his medium lasers at the Scorpion but also misses. The other Scorpion also fires on the Firestarter with his AC-5 hitting the right arm. Valin holds his fire as he lands. The coolant truck uses his flamers to hose down the Firestarter, trying to stop him. The Crusader cools his mech, firing only his medium lasers at the Scorpion, hitting the front and left side. The Panther fires his PPC at the Scorpion but misses. The Jagger rakes the Scorpion tank's front and turret with an Alpha strike. Turn 8. The Crusader, Jaggermech, and Panther all stand aiming. The coolant truck backs up, trying to find a way out. The other units hold their ground, aiming. The Crusader fires his lasers and SRM-6s at the Scorpion, damaging its front and turret. The Panther fires his PPC at the Scorpion tank, melting through the armor, blowing the tank apart. He launches his SRM-4 at the rear of the coolant truck, missiles hitting both sides of the truck. The Jaggermech fires his lasers and autocannons at the remaining Scorpion, blowing the front of the tank off. The Firestarter drastically overheats his mech, firing all 3 flamers, both medium lasers, and both machine guns down at the coolant truck, his foot crashing down, flattening what little remained of the crew compartment. Aftermath. Major Grassman, panicked by the seeming betrayal of his men, fled into the Marauder base, just to be confronted with the truth. His men had not betrayed him at all. Their mutilated remains had already been hung from the walls, along with the phrase, "You should not have come," scrawled in their blood. His shock at the barbarity would cost him dearly, as some of the prince's men managed to get his service pistol before he could end his own life. The next weeks would be unpleasant for the former mercenary commander. Unknown to him at the time, Major Grassman had engineered his own demise. Months earlier, he had taken Bella Soothman as one of his mistresses. Bella had been a simple servant and dancing girl, one of the many the mercenaries had begun to employ in their time on Armstrong. But Bella had caught the Major's eye. She was every bit the simple commoner she appeared to be. The Major, and indeed his Armstrong allies, were totally unaware that Bella Soothman was really Valin Cuthwin's illegitimate daughter. Valin had taken great care in keeping her existence a secret. While illegitimate children were not uncommon on Armstrong, Valin's relation to Bella's mother crossed certain lines that, even on a planet like Armstrong, would have fallen. Now his shameful actions benefited him. Valin would make his estranged daughter an offer. In return for smuggling in some of her father's men, he would officially recognize her. The plan worked. Bella, with Valin's men, managed to murder the mercenary mech warriors, Bella cutting the throats of the men as they were held helpless. Valin's mech warriors took the mercenaries' place in their mechs before the upcoming battle. Bella would lead the remainder on a spree of killing, sparing no one, even killing her former fellow servant girls. Bella's effectiveness and brutality impressed her father, the new Archlord of Armstrong. He would keep his word, recognizing Bella as his true daughter. Valin would go on to repair most of the damaged Marauder mechs, drastically increasing his capability. Bella Soothman, now Bella Zena Cuthwin, would inherit Armstrong just as her father promised, becoming an even more capable and brutal leader. She would turn her gaze out from Armstrong, eventually leaving her barren homeworld. She and her son would become roaming pirates, gaining a reputation for gruesome shows of barbarianism, trademarking, and throat-cutting in particular. The group soon settled on a name, creating a flag to strike fear into the hearts of those that opposed them. They married the Dagger of Death with the Vulture of Ancient Earth. Although the Cuthwins would eventually fade, their bloody legacy would endure. The Crimson Cutthroats, while hardly a threat on the scale of the great houses, nevertheless gained a well-deserved reputation for savagery as well as never forgetting a grudge. Some 140 years later, the Cuthwins would pillage the planet of Thule, employing their well-refined brutality against all they came across, sending a carefully crafted message to a naive enemy. The message was received and taken very seriously. Hello, this is Adam with DreamMade Productions. Thank you for watching my content. It really means a lot that you have given me the chance to entertain you. If you would like to support the channel, please visit my Patreon at patreon.com/DreamMadeProductions, linked below. Also below is a link for PayPal, or links if you would like to send crypto, if that's more your thing. Please know any amount that you give will be cherished and used to upgrade equipment and improve the channel. You can also help the channel by subscribing, turning on notifications, liking, commenting, and sharing my channel with anyone you think might be interested. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you enjoy the battle reps that are to come.